Part 29. Madam, she has a tender heart. Author, Bh Yaoye 11U. Chapter 283. After picking tea leaves for half a month, the people in the mountains didn't take a break, and it was time to go into the mountains to pick products. Sue's father, Sue's mother, and others have never experienced mountain people driving up the mountain to collect mountain goods. All very interested. From Father Su and Mother Su to Suqing, Liuqing, and Yang Qingxing, to Yaya and Xiaobao, everyone is clamoring to go into the mountains. The two children pestered Sue's father to make 2 small backpacks, and also wanted to go into the mountains with the adults to collect mountain products. The family couldn't keep the 2 little ones around, so they carried them on their backs, and the whole family went into the mountain together in high spirits. Su Qingyu also followed. Su Qingyu told the people in Xinjianzai who had the contract that after 5 years, they could choose to return to the contract after paying twice the food, drink, and money. After 10 years, you can also let them go if you pay double the amount. The time cannot be set too short, otherwise she will be lonely when she buys someone. But she doesn't want to stay with someone who's not in her heart. They will also be given some wages or monthly money when doing work. This time, when we go to the mountains and finish the work, whoever wants to go can take half of the mountain goods collected and keep the other half for themselves. They usually keep half of the money from selling the herbs and fungi they collect. The people in Xinjianzai are very proactive. Not only to get back the body deed, but also to keep some money with me, there is no lack of diligence. Who can't get along with Yinzi? It's not like a poor scholar treats gold and silver like dirt and thinks it smells like copper. Anyone in the village who didn't have any work to do went up the mountain. Liang Si finished the work in the sauce room and was ready to go up the mountain with the basket on his back. Turning around, she saw her mother leaning on the door and looking in the direction of the Su family. She thought for a while and said, "Mom, you can go into the mountains with me. The 2 of us can also get more things. I heard that the market town collects mountain goods. The price is not low, and we can save more money by then. She earns 15 cents a day, so she can live on a shoestring." In the morning and evening, they would pick some wild vegetables and dig some bamboo shoots in the mountains. Sometimes Sudahu would also give them some meat, so they could finally have enough to eat and drink. They also had meat to eat from time to time, which was much better than what they had in the village before. Both mother and daughter have gained weight. But I didn't have any money left over from 15 cents. I needed to buy some daily necessities, oil and salt, etc. After a trip to the market, I had no money left. She would be more relaxed if they were together. Mrs. Liang Chen's complexion has become rosy after spending the past few months in the mountains, and the lifeless look has disappeared from her face. She originally wanted to work in the village like her daughter, and it would be good to get some wages a day. But when she heard that the village was full of death deed servants who had sold themselves, how could she, a good citizen, mix with them? Then he didn't go. At this time, when my daughter asked about it, I looked up the mountain. My feet moved, but I hesitated again. This mountain is quite high. Seeing her daughter looking at her, she said, "I asked you to invite Dahu to come home for dinner. You have called several times, but you have not called anyone. You are an unmarried yellow flower girl, how can you be worse than the 2 widows of the Su family?" "Mother!" Liang Si shouted loudly. I looked in the direction of Sue's house and breathed a sigh of relief when I saw the door was locked. She said to her mother, "Mom, this is other people's territory. Are you afraid that people will drive us away when you say this? After leaving the mountains, do you still want to go back to the village?" "I don't want to go back." "I don't want to go back either." Liang Chen thought. There is food, and meat in the mountains, so why go back? He curled his lips. Seeing that her mother had stopped talking, Liang Si encouraged her, "Mom, come with me to the mountains. If you drive for half a month, you may be able to save a few taels. Maybe you can save money for the house soon. Then we will truly be the people of this village. Liang Chen hesitated and looked at the vast green mountains. They were so high and tall. I heard that there were many wild animals, including many snakes. I was scared and panicked. I wanted to help relieve my daughter's burden, but my feet didn't move. Tell me about you. You are no worse than others. You can't even deal with the stupid Sudahua. If he becomes our son-in-law, do you still need to go into the mountains to earn food like those mountain dwellers and servants? Liang Si couldn't listen anymore and stamped her feet. Mom, we have nothing. We are two naked people, we are worse than others. Seeing that her mother didn't move, she turned around and walked out the door, carrying the basket. Mrs. Liang Chen looked at her daughter and moved her feet, but in the end she didn't follow her. Looking in the direction of the Su family again, I wondered, how could that Su Qingyu be so capable? He is in charge of this area of the mountain, and he also buys servants of this area, who eat well and drink hot food at home. How did she do it? The Su family may have hidden a lot of money. There is no shortage of money, but the family still goes into the mountains to grab goods like mountain people? Is this because the bones are too light? Not even enjoying happiness. Su Qingnao didn't know what other people were thinking, she was restless, and Su's father and mother didn't regard themselves as rich people. The whole family was from a farmer's family, and they only cared about living and couldn't rest. Early in the morning, Su Qingyu sprayed a lot of anti-snake and insect powder on the whole family, and went into the mountain as soon as the morning dew disappeared. As soon as they entered the mountain, Xiaobao howled and Su Qingnao put her and Yaya down. The two children immediately ran around happily in the mountains. He thought everything he picked up was a good thing, so he happily grabbed it in his hand and ran to Su Qingyu. Mom, is this useful? It's no use, these are tree larvae, you can't eat them. When I heard that I couldn't eat it, I threw it away and looked down again. After a while, Xiaobao picked up another one and ran to Su Qingyu happily. Mom, can this be eaten? Su Qingyu smiled and nodded, yes. This is a pine cone from a pine tree. There are pine nuts in it. You can eat it when fried. As he spoke, he opened the pine cone, revealing rows of pine trees inside for him to see. When he saw that the food was edible, Xiaobao happily turned around to look for it. The whole family has never gone into the mountains to collect wild products, and they don't know many things. Su Qingnao asked Lu and Ruyi to follow Su Mu and Su Qingliu. Si Yuan took Sudahu and Su's father. She is responsible for raising 4 children. The 2.5-year-old children, Qing Yang and Qing Xing, were extremely excited along the way. Just like Yaya and Xiaobao, they just ask after picking up something. Fortunately, it was much better than Yaya and Xiaobao, who were uncertain. After a while, the two of them picked up a lot of good things. Hey, I picked up a lot of good stuff here. These nuts are fried and delicious. We won't sell them. We will keep them for Madong's family to eat. Su Qingyu praised the twins. Qingyang Qingxin was very happy when her sister praised them. The mood is higher. Yaya and Xiaobao were unwilling to accept it and took a look at their uncle and aunt's baskets. This, I saw it just now. And this, there's one over there too, the little hand pointed to one side. Yes, Xiaobao saw it too, Xiaobao was not to be outdone. On the same side as my sister. How could there be so many more than them? Huh, angry. Why don't Xiaobao and Yaya pick them up? Su Qingyu asked the two children. The two children looked at each other and then looked at the pine cone in their hands. Su Qingyu chuckled. As soon as the two children heard that the pine nuts in the pine cone were good and delicious, the two little guys just started looking for the pine cone. Nothing else can be seen. It's okay. Mom will look for it with you. Su Qingyu comforted the two children. Okay, second aunt will come with us. The 3 of us have to find more than uncle and aunt. Yes, more than them. Okay, Suqing agreed and took the two children to look for good things. After a while, I picked up a lot of chestnut and hickory nuts. Suqingyu only took a few children to look for nuts, while Suqingliu and Su's mother were not very interested in these snacks, so they only looked for mushrooms. There are several kinds of fungi that are very expensive. They have visited the market town many times and have seen them on the Yongfeng. They get a lot of money and they can make delicious dishes and soups. The two of them usually go to the mountains to pick mushrooms whenever they have free time, and this time they are looking for mushrooms specifically. As for the men, they sometimes chase wild animals and sometimes climb trees to help shake fruits. There is no time to stop. Madam, she has a tender heart. Author, Ba Jiaoye 11U. Chapter 284. During the season when people go to the mountains to collect mountain products, the shops in Suqingyu Market Town have posted information about collecting nuts and mountain products. Read. Shopkeeper Ding also checked out at the same time on the Yongfeng. The two acquisition prices are the same. Suqingyu will set aside a share for the shops in Renzhou City to sell the goods, and a share for other merchants to get goods from her. Manager Li can't do Quan Chuacheo's business, and he is not the only merchant in Renzhou City. After Suqingyu asked him, he sold some mountain nuts in Renzhou City. Yongfeng is also willing to give up its regional market share that it is not involved into other merchants. This is what Pei Nian, the governor of Renzhou, wants to see. The first step is to solve the food and clothing problem of the people in the boundary. After the food problem is solved, the people in the boundary should be kept within the territory and not move around. The second step is to have people, and then gradually restore people's livelihood. The third step is to develop the economy when people are stabilized and people's livelihood is restored. No local official wants to see the scene of desolate human settlement in the territory under his jurisdiction, which is just a corpse meal, and the official who does not want to do anything does not want to see such a scene. The ripening time of mountain products in the mountains varies from September until the first snowfall. The time span is long. During this period, the Su family drove excitedly for several days to the mountains. The thousands of acres of fertile land bought by Suqingyu in Renzhou City were also in the late rice harvest season. There are many people who are inspired by the news. There were also people who wanted to snatch the harvest in the middle of the night, but they were driven away by people sent by the governor's office and Suqingyu. Although there are some losses, they are still within the tolerance range. It is also the farmers who rent the fields. Most of the people who signed the lease chose to ask for food instead of wages. If you ask for wages, who knows how high the price of food will rise? What if the wages you get are not enough to buy food? Might as well ask for food. If the fields cannot harvest food, they will not have enough to eat. Therefore, the farmers who rent the property also take precautions day and night, and they value the food in the fields more than anything else. Fortunately, the situation was relatively stable during this period, and there were not so many refugees, hungry people, and mobs, which gave Suqingyu a good harvest. Although there are scattered fields that have been plundered, they are only small and scattered areas. The overall loss is not significant. Suqingyu hurriedly organized people to collect it. After half a month of busy work, all 6,000 acres of rice have been harvested. Because it was planted late, there was no way to arrange two crops of rice. But this season's output alone made Pei Nianal blossom. Mrs. Ma also had wind on her feet. She kept smiling every day. She personally arranged for Suqingyu's family and packed all kinds of good things for her. 6,000 acres, with an average yield of nearly 4 dan per mu. After deducting what was paid to the tenants, Suqingyu still had 12,000 dan in hand. I transported 2,000 stones back to the village and prepared to store them. 5,000 stones were sold to Manager Li at the price of 1 stone and 1 tael of silver. Got 5,000 taels of silver. The other 5,000 stones were given to Ma Xian and asked him to arrange for them to be shipped to Ma Mingguan. She also left enough seeds of the upland rice she had obtained in the mountains before, and sold the rest to manager Li, getting nearly 3,000 taels. The upland rice in the mountains was sold for only 800 coins and 1 stone, which made Sue's mother talk about her for several days. Why not keep the upland rice for home use? It would be great if you sell the grain you get outside the mountains, and you can get some more money. What my family eats is not what I eat. And the taste of upland rice is also very good. But Suking Nao didn't listen to her. Why eat the bad tasting rice instead of eating the rice that has a better taste? The family also left 2,000 stones, which was enough for the whole family to eat. Sue's mother kept saying that she was a prodigal. I don't know that firewood and rice are difficult. Sukinjao remembered that her mother was the same way in the past. They were not allowed to eat the good things at home during the new year, saying that they would keep them for guests. I only eat the ones that are not good in quality. It's the same thing, what can't be eaten? Why should we choose the good ones to eat? Sukingyu didn't. Why can't you eat your own good stuff? Want to eat something bad? Leave the good ones for others to eat? What's the point? I can't get used to this problem of hers. It seems that all mothers in the world, mothers who have lived through hard times, are all the same. Sue's father looked at the harvest and was very happy all day long, no matter what. When Sue's mother said to do this, he nodded, okay, okay, okay. When Sukingyu said this, he nodded, okay, okay. Still enjoying it, he personally took people to store food. After hiding the food, I felt so happy that I couldn't help but look at it every day. Even if the entrance to the cave is sealed, I still go to see it every day, and I am happy to see a tight lock. The family got a lot of food and a lot of wild products. For the servants of Xinjianzai, Sukingyu promised them to keep half of the food for themselves and send the other half to their homes. Sukingyu did not want to sell it, and planned to keep it for her own consumption. When the courtyard was first built, Xiangshang was ordered to leave enough space for the warehouse, so the warehouse in the backyard was very large. Sue's mother and Sukingliu, together with Lu and Ruyi, picked through all kinds of wild goods every day. The ones that can be kept are sealed in jars and put in the warehouse, and the ones that cannot be kept are put in the kitchen to be eaten by the family in the near future. The aroma of various nuts fills the house every day and spreads far and wide. The servants of Xinjianzai usually had no worries about food and clothing, and lived comfortably. Some of the goods they picked up were sold for money, but they also left a lot for their own families. Even families with children were willing to leave enough food. They all came to Sue's house to learn how to fry nuts and wild animals. Mother Sue and Mrs. Lu cheerfully teach others how to stir-fry and make it more delicious every day. The entire Xinjianzai is filled with various fragrances every day, attracting birds to follow them. Liang Si Suking Nao didn't keep her goods, and she was reluctant to eat them. She picked up wild goods and sold them at the market. Only Liang Si, mother and daughter, knew how to plan and manage the family's expenses. Even if there is no inventory at home, it does not prevent Liang Chen from having something to eat every day. First, she came to Sue's house every day to chat with Sue's mother and others. Mother Sue's family was rich, there was no shortage of food and drink, and her children and husband were by her side. She lived a happy life and was open-minded. She felt sympathy for her and gave Liang Chen a lot of food. Secondly, Mrs. Liang Chen also likes to check in everywhere, not only in the Su family, but also in various houses. She looks down on others and loves to check in at the same time. Some people saw how pitiful she was and felt sorry for her mother and daughter being helpless, so they gave her a lot. So Sukingyu often saw her leaning on the door, eating a handful of nuts, and looking in the direction of her home. Sukingnao didn't like to care about these things, and she didn't say anything about Sudahu's daily care of the Liang family. Sudahu is now a grown man, and he is free to eat wherever he likes. She is very busy. In Renzhou City, most people can have enough food and clothing this year and there is no shortage of food. So there was a bit of excitement in the city. After the nuts from the mountains were transported to the city, both Xiangshang and Wei Fucame showed Su Qingnao their account books. Su Qingyu was surprised when she saw the numbers in the account book. This autumn, the sales volume has doubled. Are you preparing to stock up on food for the winter, or are you willing to eat and drink now that you have money? The shop's net profit, which used to be less than 100 taels a month, has now skyrocketed, more than doubling. The shop that sells snacks can make a few dozen taels of net profit a day, and Su Qingnao is very satisfied. In such troubled times, it is very promising. After this busy period, in the blink of an eye, the wax flowers that Su Qingyu had been looking forward to for more than half a year were finally ready to be harvested. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Madam, she has a tender heart. Author, Bhyaoye 11U. Chapter 285. When Mrs. Tong came to tell Su Qingnao that the male pupae on the wax flowers were no longer producing wax and were about to fly out of the wax flowers, Su Qingnao knew it was time to pick the wax flowers. Read. The few thousand taels she earned from selling tea fruits and tea leaves some time ago is far from the tens of thousands taels she earned as a middleman. Su's father, Su's mother, and the others felt very happy after seeing only a few thousand taels, but Su Qingyu felt heartache. Manager Li cannot get involved in the techniques of raising and refining white wax insects. Otherwise I'll chop off his claws. The family has never seen or even heard of white wax insects. I heard that it could be made into candles for wealthy families and could be sold for a lot of money, which made me excited. They all followed into the woods. When we arrived at the place where the ash tree grows, the branches were covered with the wax secreted by the ash worm. From a distance, it looked like the tree hangings after the snow in winter, jade tree agar. All white. It's like it's snowing. Looking closer, it looks like white fluffy cotton wrapping the branches. Everyone was amazed at how such a magical thing could exist. None of the Su family had seen it before, so they stood under the tree, not daring to move. Many people have seen this in the mountains, but the people in Xinjiang fled from other places and only entered the mountains, so they have never seen these things. Except for Tong, her daughter Tong Yuanyang and the people who followed them to herd white wax insects, no one else had seen them. When she heard that she was about to harvest, she asked everyone to follow her with fine baskets and baskets. They all followed behind to see what was strange. When we walked to the ash tree, everyone was amazed when they saw it, but they all didn't dare to move. How to harvest it, no one knows. It was also the first time for Su Qingyu to see such a spectacular scene. At a glance, the ash forest was covered in white snow. No wonder this white wax is called snow wax, it really looks like it is covered with snow. Watch it. Su Qingyu came to her senses, grabbed the scissors and started operating. In fact, she was also nervous because it was her first time doing it. But don't be a coward. Everyone is waiting to learn, so you have to pretend to be sophisticated. There was a moment of nervousness, and as soon as I cut it, well, it didn't cut. Su's father was extremely anxious. Give dad the scissors and see how strong you are as a kitten. Su Qingyu felt embarrassed for a while, handed the scissors in her hand to Su's father, and told him to cut off the branches to avoid the wax. Father Su understood it as soon as he heard it. As soon as he cut it, a snow-white branch fell down. Cut off the excess dead branches and old leaves, and put the remaining branches wrapped in wax into the basket. Everyone understood it at a glance and started taking action. Mother Su and others followed suit, and the baskets were immediately filled with basket after basket, and the man picked them up and carried them to the Su family. Sukingyu looked at it for a while and realized that there was no need to delay cutting off the wax, so she and Sukingyu turned around and went home. He also asked Mrs. Guo to arrange for several women to burn a big pot in the backyard to prepare for cooking. "Master, is this white wax?" Mrs. Guo was surprised. She had seen candles in rich people's homes, but she didn't know how they got them. "Still white wax. The boss can make a lot of money this time. Once the owner is rich, it will be easier for the servants who follow her. She just hopes that her boss will be rich and prosperous. The richer and more powerful they are, the more capable they are of protecting them." "Yeah. But I haven't boiled it before. Let's try a pot first." "Okay. It's okay. Just try it slowly and you can make it." Try a little less first." After trying several pots, Sukingyu figured out the best heat and ratio. The best water adding ratio is 5:1, add 10 pounds of water to 25 pounds of wax flowers. From 10 pounds of wax flowers, you can get 8 to 12 pounds of hairy wax. The proportion of head wax is 70% and the second wax is 30%. Sukingyu was overjoyed. Another series of instructions were given to prepare paints and to call the carpenters in the village. She asked them to make some molds. He also asked someone to notify Xiangzhen and put up a sign to collect wax flowers. Then he took Guo and others to boil all the wax flowers brought back from the ash forest and refine the wax. The next day, while the wax flowers are boiling, the finished wax is made. Fortunately, it is autumn and the weather is getting cooler, so we are not afraid of heat and deterioration. After getting the pigments and molds, Sukingyu boiled the finished wax into wax water, added various pigments to it, and added wicks to the molds to make candles of various colors. In a blink of an eye, various molds were obtained, and she had people carve words into the molds to make various candles. After taking it out of the mold and lighting all kinds of candles, everyone couldn't close their mouths. The candlelight danced, reflecting everyone's faces. No matter how close you got, there was no smoke from the oil lamp, and there was no unpleasant smell. "Sister, it's so bright. My brother no longer has to cry because of the smoke when reading." Ching Xing clapped her hands happily. "Boss, is this a candle? We actually made candles. We also made them into various kinds. It's so beautiful and wonderful." Even though she was well informed in a wealthy family, Guo was stunned. "Where does this boss come from? From a farmer's family? There are tall, short, round, square, thick and thin candles in various colors and patterns. The candles can also be made into animals, flowers, and trees, and there are also engravings on the outside. Look at the auspicious dragon and phoenix, the mandarin ducks playing in the water. Oh my gosh, it's so beautiful. I've never seen anyone from a wealthy family." Mrs. Guo seemed to have seen the sound of money falling down. Sukingyu also knew that the matter was serious, so she grabbed Xiangshang and told him, "Go to the market town and ask your father to be more strict with his mouth. Don't reveal it to anyone who inquires. Wait until we finish harvesting the wax flowers goods." "Yes. Don't worry, boss, my father is very strict with his mouth." Xiangshang responded and left. Father Su and Mother Su were shocked. Was his daughter sent by God? How come you get married? It's like enlightening yourself. Not only was she adopted as a goddaughter by Ma Mingwen, but she was adopted as a goddaughter by the god of wealth, right? There are many ways to make money. The Yongfeng ship had already noticed the wax flower collection sign hanging in Xinjianzai next door. I also saw mountain people carrying white branches on their backs to the next door every day. Even though he is well informed, he doesn't recognize this thing. Isn't this a branch? Wrapped in a thick layer of white stuff? What is this? Do not know. But he felt that Mrs. Su's generous collection of this thing must be of great use. He seemed to see a lot of money flying towards the next door. But pay no attention to him. During this time, he was very busy. People came to sell mountain products and tea fruits every day, and there was a long queue at the door of the shop. He followed him from morning to night to inspect the goods, pay money, keep accounts, and transport goods to Renzo. He was extremely busy. In the blink of an eye, when I wanted to go next door to pay attention, it seemed that not even a few mountain residents could be seen. Little did he know that this thing was also seasonal. The harvesting time is only that long, and the harvest is completed in less than half a month. Shopkeeper Xiang's brand has been included. But he still wanted to report to Manager Li that Mrs. had to pay attention to such a big move. But before he could report, Su Qingyu took the things to Renzo to find Manager Li. Madam, she has a tender heart. Author, Bhao 11U. Chapter 286. After autumn, Manager Li is also very busy. Read. This autumn, Renzo produced a lot of grain, so the Yongfeng ship bought a lot and transported it to various places. Not only did it make a lot of money, but the reputation of the Yongfeng ship spread throughout the Shuo dynasty. Whenever I want food, I immediately think of the Yongfeng. The reputation of Yongfeng has increased several times. Manager Li always wanted to come and thank Su Qingyu, but firstly, he was busy, and secondly, he knew that she was also busy. I kept this gratitude in my heart. But he didn't expect Su Qingyu to come to Renzo to find him. He still wanted to say a few words, but his eyes were attracted by the various candles spread out by Su Qingyu on the table. Is this white wax? Why, there are all kinds of colors, not just a single color, colorful. There are all kinds of candles. Can this candle be made into kittens, puppies, flowers, or trees? Manager Li's eyes widened. This was truly unheard of and unseen. Is this really a candle? Manager Li asked while staring at the various candles, unable to look away even a bit. Su Qingyu nodded and nodded a few without saying anything. A candle light was lit and reflected in Manager Li's eyes, but there was no smell yet. Excellent. Want some flavor? Yes. Su Qingyu took another one and lit it. Manager Li was about to refuse, but he didn't mean it that way. Hey, what does this smell like? Fragrance, has a light, pleasant fragrance, and very, very relaxing. What kind of candle is this? Manager Li stared at the burning candle that gave off a light fragrance. I call this a scented candle. I added natural plant essential oils to it. It has the same effect as the incense that rich people order, but this one smells better. Not only does it eliminate odors, it also relaxes people, clears meridians, and activates meridians. It has a soothing effect on people with insomnia and difficulty falling asleep. Wonderful. It turns out that candles can be used for more than just lighting. Manager Li felt hot. This Madame Su is not simple. It opened his eyes again. Take a look at the various candles made into them, as well as the scented candles with special effects. What's going on in your head? The question is, how did she get this white wax? Don't look at me. This business is my exclusive business and I won't let you interfere. I have to do all the production and production. If you are interested, the sales can be left to you. Although Manager Li is very passionate, he feels that this business is no worse than the grain business, and it is more hidden. He can make more money than the grain business without showing off. But in business, it's not good to act too eager. Although they are familiar with each other. Really leave me alone, he asked, pretending to be calm and sitting down. Su Qingyu nodded, that's for sure. When I think of you leaving me behind and taking the tea, oil, and mountain goods business into your own arms, causing me to lose tens of thousands of taels a year, my heart, tisk tisk, just like cutting with a knife. Manager Li laughed out loud when he saw her clutching her chest and looking distressed. It's tens of thousands taels, which is quite a lot. It seemed that she was really hurt. He threw his head back and couldn't stop laughing. Su Qingyu rolled her eyes at him. I'm afraid you've made a lot of money this year, right? Look at this proud one. Angry. If you have 2 mountains, how much more food and mountain products can you get in a year? And it's all your own. How can that be compared with the output of dozens of copycat villages? That's impossible. Manager Li shook his head. Knowing that, he still came to attack her. Su Qingyu rolled her eyes at him. Profiteer. Yongfeng is not the only shop in the entire Shuo dynasty. I put these candles in my shop, and I'm afraid many people will gather around me. No, no. Manager Li was in a hurry. He hurriedly opened his mouth to dissuade. Sit up straight. I was afraid that Su Qingyu would really do this. Ms. Su, we are already so familiar, right? Su Qingyu said nothing. Manager Li stopped teasing her and said, okay, this business is exclusive to you. But I, Yongfeng, will do the exclusive sales, okay. Then it depends on whether the price is suitable. I'm also afraid that a big tree will attract wind. If the price given by Yongfeng is suitable, I naturally don't want to do two things for one thing. That's good, Manager Li felt relieved. I'll definitely satisfy you. So the two people discussed the price and went back and forth dozens of times before finally reaching a price that satisfied Su Qingyu. Nowadays, the most common white candle costs 1 to 200 cents each. If all were made into white candles, 1 acre of ash trees could earn dozens of taels of silver, which was more cost-effective than farming and raising silkworms. Moreover, this year is still due to insufficient insect seeding. If there are enough insect seeding next year, the yield per acre will probably double or more than double. If you want to get more output per acre, you need to increase the number of white wax insect species and make high-quality candles. White wax is too ordinary. Su Qingyu was calculating the income she could get in a year in her mind, and Manager Li was also constantly calculating in his mind. He knows the current market and prices in Shuo dynasty better than Su Qingyu. Su Qingyu's income was quickly calculated. This calculation shocked him. The price you earn from selling white wax alone in a year is equal to what I earn from tea leaves, tea fruits, and mountain products. Tisk tisk. It's not as good as you. Su Qingyu looked modest. Why can't you catch up, you? Stop. Su Qingyu interrupted him. I still know the crime of Weibi. Therefore, I have to rely on Manager Li Duoduo to help hide it. I don't want others to know the origin. I just want to make a small fortune in silence. Manager Li said with a sigh, how can your fortune be small? If you succeed in this business, you will be the #1 merchant in Renzhou. No, no, I am timid and dare not show up. Su Qingyu bowed to him. Please, please. Help me. I am an ordinary person with no power and influence, so it is not easy to show up. Manager Li sympathized with her. Don't worry. I am the same as you. I don't like to show up and don't like to betray my friends. Su Qingyu was grateful in her heart. After thinking for a while, she looked at him and said, since you said we are friends, I will give you 2 profitable businesses to save you from being jealous. Oh, Manager Li sat up straight instantly. A good friend. I am willing to listen attentively. You've seen all kinds of candles on my table, many of which I guess wealthy families have never seen. These candles need to be lit, so they need candlesticks. I'll draw some nice candlesticks for you, and you can find someone to make them and sell them together. That's one. Second, I'll give you the scented candles I just lit. Nowadays, wealthy families prefer to light candles for lighting, not oil lamps, mainly because oil lamps have too much smoke. And candles are mainly used for lighting. But in Su Qingyu's era, candles were used to create atmosphere. If this idea is used well, making matching candlesticks can be sold as a unique business. You can make a lot of money. Give this business to Manager Li, mainly because scented candles need essential oils. She doesn't have too many raw materials, and it's not as convenient to extract as manager Li, and if this thing is not done well, someone will add something that harms people, and she may be sued. It goes against her original intention of making money quietly. For ordinary people, it's better to make stable money. After listening to this, Manager Li couldn't help but look at Su Qing'an. This Madame Su is really good. She made a decisive decision and took over the unique business. She was afraid that he would be dissatisfied, so she gave him 2 profitable businesses. Okay, he made this friend. Am I good enough? Madame Su, you are this. Manager Li gave her a thumbs up, showing approval. A heroine. Madam, she has a tender heart. Author, Bha Xiaoye 11U. Chapter 287. Su Qing'an also sent a lot of candles to the governor's mansion, and Lord Pei and Madame Ma liked them very much. Pei Nian even closed the door and talked to Su Qing'an for a long time. If there are local specialties in his territory, it is a solid political achievement, and it can leave a heavy mark in the history books. With Lord Pei willing to escort, Su Qing'an felt much more at ease. She returned to the village without stopping, worked hard, and extracted all the wax flowers and made various candles. Because the business of scented candles was given to Manager Li, some semi-finished white wax was left. In less than a month, all the wax flowers were extracted, and except for some for her family's own use and some for the governor's mansion, all were sold to Manager Li. After deducting the 20% she gave to the governor's mansion and Ma Mingguan, she still got tens of thousands of taels. She had earned back all the money she had spent on buying the land before. She was overjoyed. The feeling of counting silver was so good. She happily bought a lot of cloth from Manager Li and a lot of furs from various villages, and distributed them generously to the servants in Xinjiang village. Let them spend the winter warmly. Following her as the boss, they must not only eat and live well, but also wear warm clothes to spend the winter. It is very cold in the mountains in winter. The servants who got the cloth and furs were all happy and excited. Everyone ran to thank her happily. Liang Chen leaned against the door, holding a handful of nuts, frowning, "Why don't we have them?" Liang Si had a complicated mood. She didn't expect that the servants who sold themselves lived better than them, the good people. "Mother, we are not servants of the Su family, why should they give us? We also live in this village, how could they miss our family alone?" Liang Chen felt that Su Qing'an was targeting her. The 2 widows must have taken a fancy to Sudahu and were dissatisfied with her. "Mom, stop talking nonsense. If you think it's bad, why don't we sell ourselves to her? I'm not crazy. I'm a good citizen, but a lackey." "Mom, stop talking nonsense. It's so embarrassing if someone hears it. Can't you speak freely in our home?" Liang Chen curled her lips. "Mom, we have more this year than in previous years. When Dad was at home, we didn't have much surplus food. This year we live in a new house, have food and drink, and have saved 3 taels of silver. It's really good. 3 taels of silver can do a lot. Look at how generously the Su family bought such a large cart of cloth. How much silver must it cost?" Thinking about the fur in her heart, she didn't expect Sudahu to send it to her. Sudahu lived and ate at the Su family. Like the other son of the Su family, his food and clothing were usually taken care of by Su's mother. When he worked for Su Qing'an would also give him a lot of wages. When he went into the mountains to find good things, Su Qing'an didn't want the money from the sales, and let him keep it for himself. He saved some money. This time, Su Qing'an would not miss him when she distributed winter clothes to the village. He knew that the Liang family mother and daughter did not have any, so he thought about it and used the money he saved to buy a few furs from the mountain people in the market town and sent them to the Liang family. "Oh, Dahu is here, come in quickly," Liang Chen greeted him warmly. "No, aunt. I just sent you some things. I heard that it is very cold in the mountains in winter. I am afraid that you don't have winter clothes in winter, so I sent you a few furs. You can cut them and make winter coats for you. Oh, this really touched my heart. I just told your sister that it might be difficult to survive the winter this year. I heard that it is colder in the mountains than outside. Just as I finished speaking, you sent it to me. Thank you very much. Aunt Liang Chen took it, flipped through it in her hand, and was happy in her heart. Liang Si heard him coming and came out of the house. Seeing that her mother took it without any hesitation, she felt a little embarrassed. Thank you, Brother Su. You're welcome. I wonder if you have prepared firewood for the winter? I'm afraid that the mountain will be blocked by heavy snow and it will be difficult to cut firewood. Liang Si just opened her mouth and was interrupted by Liang Chen. Oh, that's right, it will be difficult to deal with the heavy snow blocking the mountain. We two women can't get much firewood, and we are worried. Mom. Sudahu looked at her mother and daughter and said, Okay, Auntie, I know, I'll get you some. Okay, thank you so much. Brother Su, come in and have a drink hot water. No, I'm leaving. You guys go in, it's cold outside. After Sudahu left, Liang Si frowned and looked at her mother. Mom, I've already collected a lot of firewood at home. If we save some more, it will be enough for us. What do you mean by enough? You're stupid. Why would you refuse such a strenuous job when someone is helping you? You're a woman who's out in the open, going to the mountains to chop firewood, all alone. What if something goes wrong? The mountain folks are tricky. Then mother, come with me. Someone else has done it, why do you want to drag me along? Liang Chen said and went into the house. Liang Si looked at her mother's back, feeling sad. When dad was around, mother was obviously very diligent. Now that dad is gone, mother can only follow her in the future. Which man is willing to marry a wife and a mother-in-law? Liang Si felt dazed. Looked in the direction of Sudahu. But the Su family was happy and ready to hibernate. I heard that it's very cold in the mountains in winter, and there will be heavy snow and the mountains will be closed, Su's mother said while holding a tongs and pulling out chestnuts and other food from the brazier. What are you afraid of? My sister asked someone to build a kong. She lit a fire and slept warmly without a quilt. I plan to stay on the kong in winter. Ching Xing didn't care at all. Winter might be more comfortable than summer. Su's mother saw that the chestnuts she had just pulled out were quickly caught by Ching Xing, and slapped her hard. You are snatching food from your two nephews. You are so good. You are so good. Xiaobao imitated Su's mother's words and said to Ching Xing. He was so small and pretended to be an adult with a stern face, which made everyone laugh. Ching Xing had just peeled the chestnuts, and her hands were still black. She smiled and gently drew a black mark on Xiaobao's face. Mom. Look at my aunt. Bad. Xiaobao was angry and wiped it on his face while looking for Su Qingmei. When Yaya saw her brother's face was scratched by her aunt, she wiped it on the brazier with her little hand and also on Qingxing's face. Xiaobao was happy when he saw it, and followed his sister's example, chasing Qingxing to smear the smeared face. Chasing around in the house, making a mess. You have made a lot of progress. Your two nephews are not as old as you. You are a grown-up girl, and you still have the nerve to make trouble with them. Su's mother grabbed her by her side, patted her, and froze her, letting Yaya and Xiaobao smear the smeared cat face on her face. Qingxing stamped her feet. Mom, you don't want a daughter anymore when you have a grandson. Why do you need you? You are not as sensible as your nephew. The whole family watched with a smile. You are listening to novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Madam, she has a tender heart. Author, Bha 11U. Chapter 288. Sue's father looked at it with a smile. Occasionally he would take a piece of food from his son and throw it into his mouth without looking at it, chewing it happily. Mouth full of fragrance. I was very satisfied in my heart and felt that my life was indescribably comfortable. I asked the leader of Zhone village and he said it was cold in the mountains. But last year Qing now led them to make a kong and many braziers, fire tables, and fire baskets. Even the elderly and children liked to go out in winter. Sue's father didn't either worry about winter. Hearing this, Su Qingyu turned around and said to Su Dehua, "Brother Dehua, help me go to the village tomorrow and ask if everyone has prepared anything for the winter. Is there enough firewood? If it snows, go into the mountains and get ready. Otherwise, you'll be miserable if you don't have firewood to burn in the winter. The people in Xinjiang all come from outside and have never spent winter in the mountains, so they might not be able to adapt." Su Dehua nodded, "Okay. Don't worry. You told everyone before, I think everyone has burned a lot of firewood." Sue's father also comforted her, "Don't worry, Dad and Dehua will go and ask tomorrow." Su Qingyu felt relieved. I roasted something with my family around the fire pit and talked about harvesting grain, mountain products, and wax flowers in the mountains. I was very emotional. I thought that everyone could not survive, so I hid in the mountains. I didn't expect that once I entered the mountains, my life would be better than that of the people outside. Not only do you eat well and live well, you also eat well and have meat every meal. How can you live like this? I have to tell others that there may not be food on the table, but there is meat every meal. Think we are talking big words. Mother Su also sighed, "No, I remembered that when I went to the Gu family before, Ruyu's aunt pushed a plate of meat in front of me and asked me to eat it with a smile. She said that we couldn't eat it in the countryside and asked me to eat more. When I think about it now, I just want to throw the rows of dried wax meat and bacon hanging in our dining room at her face and make her say I can't eat meat." Seeing Sue's mother gnashing her teeth, Su Qingneo couldn't help but laugh. Su Qingliu also laughed. He said, "My sister-in-law was born to her man's concubine. How can she have a good face when she looks at her sister-in-law, you and your father?" Hey, I thought I didn't understand the convoluted words she said. Mom is smart. I just don't want to argue with her. We are from a farmer's family, but we don't steal or rob, and we don't come to knock on the door, so what are we doing? Act like you're superior. Show it to someone. Mother Su curled her lips. I am not happy at all in Chenzhou City, but I am still at home in this mountain. Even if she carries a hoe and goes up the mountain to farm every day, she is still happy. I don't like staying there either, and I don't like my sister-in-law either. My brother, parents, and I went to see my nephew. She was in the house, sitting and never got up. Qing Xin curled her lips and said with some dissatisfaction. Sue's mother clicked her tongue at her, and Qing Xin hurriedly hid behind Su Qingyu. Before Su Qingyu could speak, Father Su said to Mother Su, "Isn't she right? Why do you keep talking about her? Ruyu is her sister-in-law, look at her attitude." "She doesn't look like a sister-in-law," Qing Xin muttered in a low voice. When Su Qingneo saw Sue's mother glaring at her, she hurriedly patted Qing Xin and said, "You don't talk too much about adults' matters." Qing Xin stopped talking. Qing Yang peeled a handful of pine nuts for Su Qingyu, handed them to her, and said, "Brother, it's not easy either." Su Qingjao was a little surprised. She smiled at him and touched his head. This child has been sensible since he was a child, which makes people feel distressed. Hearing Sue's mother sigh, Su Qingyu said, "Mom, you and my sister, please pack some things for your brother and come out. When the time comes, let's see Yuan take them to Renzhou and ask someone to send them to my brother." When Sue's mother heard this, she slapped her thigh hard and almost forgot about it. "Okay, your sister and I will pack it up tomorrow. Your brother liked the furs and mountain products you sent last year very much. His salary is very tight to support a large family. Sue's father thought for a while and said, "Would you like to send him some food?" Look at Sukingyu. Sukingyu thought for a while and said, "It's better to send some money to my brother. I'm afraid that the food will be lost on the road. I ask someone to send things because I'm afraid of owing someone a favor." Sue's father thought the same thing, "Okay. It's better to send money." Everyone discussed lively what to send. Sukingyu said, "Send a piece of tribute cloth to my brother. Let him cut it and make it into clothes. When he goes to socialize, maybe others can look up to him." When Sue's mother heard this, she patted her thigh. "Yes, your brother is always looked down upon by the other brothers-in-law when he goes to his in-law's house. This time, let him wear a palace satin suit so that people can know that he is not alone. His brother-in-law is where is the third-grade general? Don't let his family underestimate him." Mother Sue said, she couldn't wait for tomorrow and wanted to prepare immediately. "You're not in a hurry." Sue's father pulled her away. When Sue's mother saw it, her two little grandchildren also stood up and sat down again. "Come, Grandma will peel the millet for you to eat." Yaya and Xiaobao nodded, "Okay. There are also pine nuts." "Okay, peel the pine nuts for us Xiaobao and Yaya to eat." It's rare for a family to sit together and talk. After talking about Suqing Song, he talked about his aunt and uncle. "Hey, I don't know what happened to your aunt and the others. In the summer, I wrote to them about our situation in the mountains, but I didn't receive a reply from them. If they were still in the neighboring county, I could go there take a look at home. But the mountains are high and the roads are far away." When Sue's father talked about this compatriot's biological sister, he was worried in his heart. Now he lives a stable life with his daughter in the mountains, but he still doesn't know what is going on with this sister. "I couldn't even take a look in person. We all came out together at that time." He didn't know how his sister's family was doing, and he thought about it every day. Sukingnao was also thinking about her aunt and her family. In her previous letter, she only said that her family was living with her son-in-law and their life was going well. Then I didn't receive the letter. I don't know if it was lost on the road or something happened. I'll ask Manager Lee some other time to see if their caravan is heading there, and then ask him to help inquire." Sue's father was very happy. Okay, you can help me ask the young lady. There is no news about your aunt, so Dad is very upset. Don't scare yourself. My sister said in her letter last time that she was doing well. Maybe she is busy raising grandchildren now. Mother Sue comforted him. It would be nice if that were the case. After talking about my aunt, I also talked about the people who stayed in Fengting Town and Kyoto Village. I wonder what happened to them. Dad, why don't you send a letter to Grandpa to say he's safe? Father Sue's heart moved. I don't know if the letter can be sent there. Dad, please write it first and let my sister take it to ask about it, Qingyang said. That's okay. You can ghost write for Dad later. Okay, Qingyang nodded. Sukingyu thought for a while, then I will also send a letter to my father-in-law. It should be. Everyone was filled with emotion as they talked about the past personnel affairs. Sukingyu turned her head and saw Sukingliu sewing a big sweater. At first glance, it didn't belong to her family. Sister, did you make it for Wei Fukang? When everyone heard this, they all looked at Sukingliu. Sukingliu paused for a moment, his face dropped a little red, and he hummed in a low voice. Sukingyu asked Sudahuo, what do you think of him as a person? When everyone heard this, they all looked at Sudahuo. Madam, she has a tender heart. Author, Bha Xiaoye 11U. Chapter 289. Speaking of Wei Fukang, everyone thinks of him in their minds. Read. He has a special status and is a free man in the village. Sukingyu also had someone build a house for him. He lives by himself. But he is a single man who lives alone and doesn't take care of much. He mostly just sleeps at home and eats mostly from the village's big pot with everyone else. Occasionally I go to Xiangshang and others' home to have a meal, and occasionally I come to Su's house to eat once or twice, but I don't come often to avoid being suspicious. When there was no one at home during the day, Su Qingliu would occasionally go to his house to help him cook. Su Qingliu also took care of his clothes. Although the Su family agreed that Su Qingliu would start a family with him again, Su's father did not open his mouth, nor did Su Qingliu, so both of them avoided suspicion. Su's father lived with his daughter because he didn't want her to get married too early. Su Qingliu, on the other hand, did not have the common sense of the times and felt that if two single men and women walked together, they would no longer be innocent. What is this nonsense? Even if you have bad character, you still have to force yourself together? This doesn't happen with her. She has been taking a break from her busy schedule to observe Wei Fuking. Whether he can be her brother-in-law or not, whether he is qualified or not, needs to be examined. Their family is very harmonious and they don't want an outsider to affect their relationship. Occasionally, Su Qingliu would ask him to help with something. Let him and Xiangshang manage the shop in Renzhou, and let him take part in taking care of the affairs in the village. Delivering goods to and from the market town and other tasks will also be left to him. He does everything well. The degree of completion far exceeded Su Qingliu's expectations. Su Qingliu felt that this person was not simple, he was literate and his conversation was not ordinary. He probably didn't come from a banker's family. Su Qingliu didn't think that Su Qingliu should find a banker with a similar family background, but if his past resume was too complicated, he was afraid that Su Qingliu wouldn't be able to bear it. Among the several brothers and sisters, Su Qingliu felt that Su Qingliu made her heartache the most. She didn't want her to have a bad life in the rest of her life. Trapped in marriage. In that case, it would be better to follow her, lie by her, and live a quiet life with Yaya. But Su's father and Su's mother obviously wanted Su Qingliu to remarry. Since Wei Fuking is also willing to take responsibility, Su Qingliu is also willing to give Wei Fuking a chance. Seeing everyone looking at him, Su Dehu thought for a moment and said, "Wei Fuking, I don't think he comes from a farmer's family." "That's for sure." Su Qingliu nodded. Su Dehu gained confidence when he saw that Su Qingliu agreed with him. The Su family usually avoids suspicion, and those closest to Wei Fuking are Su Dehu and Qing Yang. Wei Fuking also spent a lot of time with Su's father, but he was afraid that what he showed in front of Su's father was not his true self. Su Dehu looked over at Su Qingliu. Said, "If Sister Qingliu wants to remarry, this Wei Fuking is a good choice. He seems to know a lot, but he is not proud at all. He does not look down on the servants in the village at all. He eats, lives and works with them in the mountains. He rushed to do the hard work and didn't refuse at all. It seems that his character is very good. He can be said to be pretending a few days a day, but it has been several months. I heard that he has been like this. I heard him say that there is no one in his family. In the future, my uncle and aunt will not be needed. I'm worried that Sister Qingliu will be separated from you." After Su Dehu finished speaking, Su Qingliu found that Su Qingliu secretly breathed a sigh of relief. In fact, as long as Wei Fuking's family is not worried, Su Qingliu will not suffer from her mother-in-law in the future, nor will she marry far away. On this point, Su's father and mother Su are quite satisfied with him. Even if it is their daughter, they don't want to be separated from their daughter. The current situation is so chaotic and the transportation is inconvenient. If you marry outside, you don't know how long it will take to see you again. Just like Suqing's song, "I don't know when we can meet again. Maybe my grandson will be all grown up when we meet again." After Su Dehu finished speaking, Qing Yang nodded, "I think Brother Wei is pretty good." Su's mother looked at Su Qingliu, and then at Yaya, who was leaning against her legs and eating quietly, and felt heartbroken. "I don't know what he will do to us, Yaya. After all, We are not biological. Sukingyu hurriedly interrupted her. Winking at Ching-Sing, take Yaya and Xiaobao to the warehouse and grab a basket of nuts. Everyone will eat them. Ching-Sing understood what she meant, and stood up quickly to greet Xiaobao and Yaya. Xiaobao, Yaya, come with and to get food. This time we will get more. Okay, get more. Xiaobao didn't understand anything and got up happily. Seeing Yaya sitting still, he reached out to pull her. Sister, let's go get duo. Okay, seeing her brother pulling her, Yaya also took Xiaobao's hand, and the three of them went out. After the person left, Sukingyu followed Yaya's little back with complicated eyes. Sukingyu glanced at her but said nothing. Su's father frowned at Su's mother. If you say such things, you are not afraid of your granddaughter being upset. Yaya is now 5 years old. She understands everything. Mother Su pursed her lips and said nothing. Sukingyu lowered her head and whispered, if he treats Yaya badly, I won't marry. From now on, Yaya and I will live in the mountains. Su's mother choked and patted her. You are tearing out the hearts of me and your father by saying such things. You are still young and you raised Yaya alone. Will Yaya get married in the future? And there is no one in our family anymore, let you live alone with Yaya? Sukingyu didn't speak, her heart was complicated and difficult to distinguish. Everyone was silent. Sukingyu was still young and was married off by her step-grandmother at the age of 15. He is only 22 years old now, which is a great time for him. If there is a good man, Sukingyu also wants her to get married and live a life of being loved and pampered. Sukingyu is different from her. She can survive alone. But Sukingyu is a truly good wife and mother, a smart woman who needs a man to help her support a family. Sukingyu looked at everyone and said, let me talk to Wei Fukane first and see if he has any other ideas. If you have no other ideas, you are willing to live with us in the mountains. Our big family will still live together in the future, with Lele. With her parents and us looking after Yaya, she will have many people who love her. There is no need for my sister to be separated from us in the future. After hearing this, Sukingyu kept saying, if he can't accept Yaya, I won't marry. I can raise Yaya by myself. Sukingyu looked at her and said, okay, I know, sister, I will ask him. The next day, Sukingyu went to the mountain next door to see the distribution of ash trees, and specifically approached Wei Fukane. Wei Fukane may also know her purpose. Be the first to speak, I really want to marry your sister. Sincere. Wei Fukane nodded. At first, I just felt that your sister and I had shared the hardships along the way, and being alone together had ruined your sister's reputation. But later, I got sick and wanted to die, but your sister didn't give up. She spent all her money just to get me medicine. She kowtowed to people at the door of the medical center and begged them to treat me. Went out to earn food for me again. No one has ever done so much for me. He doesn't want anything, he just wants me to live. So, you are moved. Madam, she has a tender heart. Author, Bhaya 11U. Chapter 290. Wei Fukane shook his head after hearing this. It started with being touched. But then I slowly fell in love with her. Your sister is gentle, kind, knowledgeable, virtuous, and a good woman who manages the house. Have a vision. But my sister still has Yaya with her. I like Yaya very much. The little girl is very sensible. She has endured hardships with us along the way. She has never cried or made trouble. When she has food, she will give it to your sister first. I see that she usually carries Xiaobao with her, and she looks like a big sister. I will also help take care of my younger siblings in the future. She will be a good sister. Sukingyu looked at him and saw the sincerity on his face. I believe these words came from his heart. We don't know anything about your past. I have nothing to hide about my past. My family is in the north. I have a small amount of wealth. I have a village with hundreds of acres of fertile land. I have servants and tenants. My father hoards all the grain we have. He says the world is in chaos. Do you have any hoards? Sell. But I don't know how the news leaked out. A bandit army came to snatch food in the middle of the night. In the end, the family only escaped with me and my son also fell ill on the way. So King Nao saw tears shining in his eyes and said, "My condolences." Wei Fucain shook his head. "It took a while to calm down my thoughts." Said, "Then I just wanted to protect your sister and find you, and then I went down there to find my family. For a while, I really didn't want to live. Later, your sister held me and dragged me around begging for help. She wanted me to live. Since she wants me to live, then I will live well. I can protect her all the way and in the future." Su Qinjiao was moved by these words for some reason. She believed that what he said at this moment was sincere. It's been so different for so long that no one knows. But now he has the idea of protecting her for the rest of his life, and that is enough. What can a person who has had a death wish and felt that he had no care in the world do for you? What bad intentions can there be? After Wei Fucain got Su Qingyu's approval, he started to visit and had a long talk with Su's father and Su's mother. When Su's father and Su's mother heard that he would live with them in the future and would not go back to the north, they immediately agreed. Among their large family, Wei Fucain was alone. With so many pairs of eyes looking at him, how dare he treat Su Qingliu badly? After it was agreed, Wei Fucain began to prepare for the engagement. Although the Su family did not ask him for anything, he still wanted to follow the 6 rites for Su Qingliu before marrying him home. Wei Fucain worked for Su Qingnao, and Su Qingnao also paid him wages and bonuses. But he wanted to marry Su Qingliu. He felt that these were not enough, and for some reason, he got in touch with Lingfeng and frequently went to the mountains with Lingfeng to find medicinal materials. "I want to find some medicinal materials and save some money." Lingfeng Valley was also willing to take him with him, so that there would be one more person to explore the way and fight wild beasts, and it would be less dangerous. After Su Qingyu told him, the rest was left to Su's father and mother, while she found Xiangshang and Guo to learn about the winter conditions of the people in the village. Most of the people in Xinjianzai are ordinary people who escaped from the north and have never lived in the mountains. It's wet and cold in the mountains in winter, and I'm afraid many people won't be able to adapt to it. There are many families who are not neat families. Those who are single will live with others in Datongpu and eat from a big pot. But some people, such as the old boy Gu Hongd, who is 50 years old and only has a 7-year-old grandson by his side, may not be able to cut much firewood. There are also people like Tong who have a daughter who is only 12 or 13 years old. It is easy to get started raising white waxworms, but I am afraid that she can't do much in the way of cutting firewood and carrying firewood up the mountain. There are many such families in the village. There are very few families like Lingfeng and Xiangshang who have 3 generations of grandparents. Su Qingyu walked around the stockade and found that everyone was busy with the stockade, and each family had insufficient firewood and winter supplies. They mobilized the whole village and asked the strong men to go up the mountain to collect firewood. The women followed them up the mountain to bundle and clean up, and then picked it down together. He also asked Su's father and Sudahu to go to the other 2 mountains to see how everyone was spending the winter. He also asked Yu Meng to take his father Yu Mai to the 2 mountains next door to build a fire bed for everyone. This family is a mason, so it shouldn't be difficult for them to build a kong. Especially the 6 households who came to seek refuge from other villages, Zhengbo and others who discovered iron ore, must be kept warm through the winter. If she moved here and still lived by burning firewood piles like living in a cave, that would be a dereliction of duty on her part as the head of the village. He also ordered the carpenter Gao Yuan to take the people in the village to make some fire tables, fire barrels, and fire baskets. If there are more, You can sell them in the market town. There are many scattered people from other villages moving here this year, and I am afraid they are in short supply of these winter equipment. This year everyone sold mountain goods and had some money, so business should not be bad. I went to Ma Xian's place again to check on their winter conditions. There are 50 people there, all strong laborers, and the backyard has been piled with firewood, enough for them to burn for a whole winter. And when the barracks were first built, they also had fire pits, so there should be no problem in surviving the winter. Over at Lianzai, Sukingyu also convened a meeting with 28 village owners to learn about everyone's winter situation and the situation of wheat in the fields. A group of experienced village owners reminded Sukingyu, "We were well prepared for the winter last year, and this year will only be better than last year. But there is one thing I want to remind the president. You guys say it. We have all discovered this year that it is getting colder earlier than in previous years. We all feel that it will be a severe winter this year. You Xinjianzai are all foreigners, so you may not be able to adapt to the conditions in the mountains, so you must be prepared." Is it winter? Sukingyu was a little surprised. Many village owners nodded. Well, something is wrong this year. It gets cold earlier, and it's colder than in previous years. I'm afraid there will be heavy snow that closes the mountains. Sukingyu nodded. Okay, I understand. You should also make more preparations. In addition, each village has stored a lot of food this year, so be sure to keep an eye on it. If someone comes to visit you, be sure to warn them. Yes. Don't worry. We finally grew it. I will chop off the hands of anyone who dares to snatch it. We are not like last year, passively waiting to be beaten. Now the young and strong people in each village have regular training. All have some skills and are very accurate. That's good. Don't be careless. Yes. After a while, Sukingneo thought about what the village leaders said, so she went back and told Su's father, mother, and others, and also notified the village. The whole village followed them up the mountain to collect firewood, and they continued to do so for half a month. The whole village was filled with firewood, and it finally stopped. Before the snow fell, another hunting was organized in the village. Su's father and Qingyang Sudahua Weifu came followed, and Ma Xian also sent a dozen people to follow. And the women in the village are not idle either, going to various hills to dig winter bamboo shoots. Mrs. Guo took the women in the village to make various kinds of bamboo shoots. They were very delicious and everyone loved them. The bamboo fungus grown in the bamboo forest is also very delicious. Even the elderly and children love to drink the soup. Sukingyu was busy with various things this year and forgot about planting bamboo fungus. Next year I plan to think about growing bamboo fungus and mushrooms, otherwise all the large and small caves in the mountains will be in vain. The men went into the mountains and did not return until the 10th day carrying a small mountain of prey. Mother Su and others had never seen this kind of collective hunting and were very surprised. It was a lively gathering around the mountain stream with the women in the village handling wild animals. The children were also laughing and joking, there was so much meat to eat. There is no shortage of meat in winter, and there is plenty to eat. Wow, there is so much. The children clapped their hands and happily helped the adults. The people in the village were originally at home and could not eat meat once or twice a year, but now they were very happy to see so much meat. Entering the mountains is the right time. In the end, each family got a lot. I happily took the meat home and smoked it. Liang Xi's side, Sukingyu, also took the initiative to share some meat between her mother and daughter. It was enough for her mother and daughter to survive the winter. She also brought over some dried mushrooms she picked to express her gratitude. Then Mother Su gave me a big basket of nuts. When the first snow falls, the Su family begins the cat winter. But what they don't know is that danger is coming quietly. You are listening to novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Madam, she has a tender heart. Author, B. Xiaoye 11U. Chapter 291. /U003C, go /U003 Jiangxi Observation Envoy Yang Bide reported that Renzhou alone had harvested hundreds of thousands of dan of grain in the autumn this year. What a pleasant surprise. He personally wrote to Painian and asked him to send 100,000 shi of grain to Yizhang as soon as possible. He thought that the whole of Jiangxi could be called a land of plenty, but he didn't expect that thousands of hectares of fertile land were left uncultivated, and Jiangxi as a whole did not receive 30% of the grain tax. The granary is empty enough for a horse race. How does this work? Doesn't he want to eat? How can we manage a bunch of losers without any means to control them? Sure enough, it's still Painian seeing. Unexpectedly, he was a scholar and managed Renzhou well. If the whole of Jiangxi is as full of food as Renzhou, why worry about not being able to do something big? Painian received Shangwen's letter and had a splitting headache. Where did he collect hundreds of thousands of stones of food? Who spread the false news? After listening to Su Qingyu's words, he just gave it a try. How could he dare to buy more land? And he has limited manpower. There are so many hungry people and mobs outside, how can he take care of them? A lot of the land where we were cultivating was also looted. In the end, he and Su Qingyu combined didn't get 50,000 stone grain. In addition to those grown around following the trend and harvested sporadically from various places in Renzhou, the amount of food is less than 100,000 dan. Everyone pays Renzhou's local taxes in money. Everyone said there was no food, so he could bring people to grab it. Less than half of the grain obtained from the land his wife bought with dowry money was sold. If he hadn't forcefully collected it into the state government's grain depot, the people of Renzhou would have nowhere to eat. 100,000 stones were transported. Where is this number? It is true that a full man will not eat a hungry man. Don't the people in his state want food and drink? Finally, 20,000 stones were collected and transported to Yizhang. Yang Xingmai was very dissatisfied when he saw the 20,000 shi of food. There was another villain talking behind his back, gradually becoming dissatisfied with Painian. It feels like he collected hundreds of thousands of shi of food before shipping him 20,000 shi. This is not taking his observation seriously. In addition to Yang Bai, who received the news that Renzhou had collected a large amount of grain, others naturally also received the news. Winter started early this year and was colder than in previous years. No one wanted to go hungry without food, so many people headed to Renzhou. Let's talk about Ma Mingguan. I got a lot of money from Su Qingyu last year and this year. In the summer, I received food sent from 29 villages, which gave the entire army a good meal. The army granaries were packed to the brim. For the first time, there was no shortage of food, which made other passers-by see green lights. And when many people saw that the Ma family's army had food to eat and would not go hungry, more and more people defected to the army and joined the army. A wave of grain was harvested in the summer, and in autumn, Ma Mingguan received another sum of money and 5,000 stones of grain from Su Qingyu. I was filled with emotion. As his goddaughter, she is no different from her dear ones. It was just because his apprentice Lu Bachan had betrayed him on the battlefield. Lu Bachan was punished because of him, and he felt guilty. Only then did he agree to Su Qingyu's request and go into the mountains to help her drive away the bandits. It was just a favor along the way. I didn't expect to receive such a huge benefit. From Su Qingyu, he not only got money but also the most precious food. Nowadays, even if you have money, you may not be able to buy food. The entire army is well fed and their mental outlook is much better. The quartermaster no longer came to complain to him. Every day I see him I am happy. The soldiers were well fed, and they were willing to endure hardships in training. They were all pulled out and treated as if they were 10. The combat effectiveness is much better than other armies. His combat power is several times that of others. With food to eat and money to buy better equipment, the military looked completely new. Some time ago, he received a letter from Ma Xian, saying that Su Qingyu had discovered iron ore. Ma Mingwen had been thinking about this for some time. He felt that he had to send people to dig out the iron ore. These days, whoever has a strong fist and speaks up has status. And how hard is a fist? That means the weapons must be strong. It's winter, and everyone is in the cold weather. Ma Mingwen also set up camp. After figuring this out, he gathered a capable team of several hundred people and asked them to take his letters and some local gifts to Renzhou. In addition to Ma Mingwen's capable team of several hundred people heading to Renzhou, other teams who learned about the grain production in Renzhou and the mountains also followed the trend and headed for Renzhou. Su Qingyu had no idea that a large-scale fight was about to start around her. Winter has come, and she only thinks about two things: one is the wheat in the field, and the other is the winter problems of the villagers. We had a successful winter experience last year. Every village has built a fire pit, and every household has a fire table, fire bucket, and other heating equipment. Even if they go out, everyone carries a fire basket. Not cold at all. So no matter how cold this winter is, I should be able to survive it. But when it gets cold this winter, I'm afraid that the animals on the mountain won't be able to find food and will come down the mountain to beg for food. It would be bad if you were very hungry and wanted to eat people. Therefore, before winter, Su Qingyu specially arranged various plans in the meeting in Lianzai to prevent fire, theft, and wild animals in the mountains from being spoiled. When each village encounters danger, smoke must be lit as a warning. Now the villages are integrated, and some villages are short of men and have to rely on the collective strength of the villages in the joint village. After making arrangements, checking everything, and explaining everything to Ma Xian, Su Qingnao went home to Madong. Since Wei Fucain hired Su Qingliu, he has become a frequent visitor to the Su family. There is one more Sudahu who is like a godson, and one more quasi son-in-law is not much. Wei Fucain had to burn the Kong and firewood alone at home, which was a waste. If he stayed with the Su family, the Su family wouldn't burn a few more firewood just because there were too many. Anyway, the family, old and young, has a hot table and a heated Kong burning in the house during winter. Everywhere in the house was warm and cozy. Xiaobao and Yaya didn't wear much, so they ran around in the house without feeling cold at all. There were adults feeding them dried meat, roasted millet, and various fried beans. Each of the two children carried a small satchel, and from time to time they would reach in and grab a few beans and throw them into their mouths, which made a crunching sound. "Grandma, Xiaobao's beans are gone." My little hand grabbed into the small bag and found nothing. Xiaobao yelled at his grandmother who loved him the most. "Hey, Xiaobao's beans are gone? Come, Grandma, take a look." As soon as Mother Su heard her grandson's call, she ran over. Xiaobao grabbed the deflated little satchel, opened it and showed it to Mother Su. "Hey, there are really none." "Then Grandma will grab another handful for our little treasure." "Gonna grab 2 handfuls. We'll also bargain." "Okay, grab 2 handfuls. "Xiaobao, you've already eaten a handful just now, you can't eat any more," Su Qingyu said distantly. Xiaobao, who was following Mother Su, paused. He looked at Su Qingyu aggrievedly. "Mom, Xiaobao still wants to eat. If you eat too much, your stomach will bloat, so you can't eat." Xiaobao didn't know how to retort, so he pointed at his fingers aggrievedly and glanced at Qing Xing. "Auntie still eats." Qing Xing was watching the excitement, but she didn't expect Xiaobao to choke when he mentioned her. "Auntie is an older child, and you are a child, so you can't eat it," Qing Xing said. Xiaobao pursed his lips in grievance and bargained with Su Qingyu, "Can't you drink honey water later? There are also meatballs given by Grandpa Ling." Because the leaves, seeds, and ash of the ash tree have some medicinal uses, Sukingyu gave some to Dr. Mu and Ling Fenggu for them to study. I also took some digestion and stomach-building meatballs from them and prepared them for Xiaobao and Yaya. Xiaobao remembered it. When I talk about my bloated stomach, I mention the meatballs given by Grandpa Ling. Mother Su felt sorry for her grandson and couldn't bear to see her grandson being unhappy, so she glared at Sukingyu. He pulled Xiaobao over and said, "Let's go, Grandma, give me a few more pills. If you take a few more pills, you can't eat them, or you'll get a stomachache. Grandma will bake some meat for you and your sister later." "Okay. It's toasty and delicious." "Well, it smells good." \U003C, \U003E. Madam, she has a tender heart. Author, Bhaya 11U. Chapter 292. The family is happily having a cat at home for the winter. Read. When the first snow fell, Sukingyu cooked various hot pots for everyone. Lu and Ruyi learned various tricks from Sukinjao last year. This year, they went to the sauce room to help, and studied several ways to eat it with Guo and others. Served with a variety of delicious sauces, the family sat around the fire table and ate happily. Originally, Wei Fucain wanted to avoid suspicion, but after eating, he never mentioned the matter of avoiding suspicion again. Every day when it's time to eat, he appears at home automatically without being called. On this day, the leader of Zongjai also came to eat. Sukingyu made his favorite hot pot with a porridge base. The bottom of the pot was cooked with new rice harvested this year. The porridge was so fragrant that it made people drool. The leader of Zongjai sniffed and sniffed. "It smells good. I've been thinking about this bite for a year. Finally I can eat it. When will we not be able to eat this?" "Why don't you think about it for a year?" Sukingyu teased him. "How can eating in normal times be the same as eating in cold weather like this? There are a lot of people around the fire table, the breath is freezing outside, and the food in the room is hot and sweaty. This is the feeling I want." "Okay, even an old man like you knows that eating brings out the atmosphere." Su's father and Su's mother also welcomed him to their home for dinner and chatted with him about various household matters. It's because of the 2 years of young concubines in the village that everyone has experienced such a cold winter. In previous years, when winter came, everyone would sit around the quilt beside the brazier and never go out. No, in our hometown before, everyone stayed at home in the middle of the winter. We didn't dare to go out casually and freeze to death. We thought it would be very sad to be in the mountains when it was wet, cold and snow-capped. Unexpectedly, it was even warmer than when we were outside. This is all due to your daughter. She came up with such ideas. Now the elderly and children in the village often rush out of the house in the cold weather. That's good. It's going to be a long winter. It would be so boring to stay at home all the time. Isn't that right? I just fell in love with your house and came here. You have a lot of family members and it's lively and lively. It's also delicious to eat when there are many people. In my house, there are only 2 of us, my granddaughter, and a grandson-in-law. I can't say no to young people. Come together. Then you come often and we welcome you. There are many rooms at home, so you can live in our house. The road on the mountain is also slippery. That's good for catching up. After dinner, we were chatting in the room when Si-Yuan suddenly ran over. "Miss, something happened." Sukingyu was stunned for a moment, then quickly ran over and asked, "What happened?" The family was stunned and followed behind. "Batang. Father." "Who?" Sukingyu looked at the man who rushed to the leg of the Zongjai leader. "The son of Zongjai master who has disappeared for many years? Still alive? Really, Botong? Son, where have you been these years? Dad is so easy to find." The leader of Zongjai hugged his son who fell at his feet, crying, "Dad, I'm not filial. I just want to go out and earn food so that you can live a better life in your later years. I didn't expect, I almost couldn't see you. The whole Su family was very moved when they saw the happy reunion of Zongjai Master and his son. Su Qingnao was also a little emotional. But Si Yuan was so anxious that he stamped his feet. Oh, please stop crying and tell my lady what happened, we were so anxious. That's right, I almost forgot something important. Na Batan quickly wiped his tears, pulled Zongjai leader, and said to Su Qingyu, there are thieves entering the mountain, there are many people. Dad, let everyone escape quickly, and escape to the deep mountains. What? Master Zongjai couldn't stand firm when he heard this. Not only Su Qingyu, everyone present was shocked. Tell me clearly. How did you know that there were thieves in the mountain? Did you bring them in? Zongjai leader grabbed his collar and asked repeatedly. Botong stamped his feet. Dad, is your son that kind of person? I can't survive outside anymore. I want to go back to the village. I met several waves of people on the road. They all said that there is food in Renzo. There is food growing in the mountains, and the people in the mountains use it to feed their livestock. A bunch of people who have nothing to eat are coming here. Upon hearing this, Zongjai Master shook his body involuntarily. His eyes were dull, and he was mumbling, bandits, bandits are here again, bandits are entering the mountains again. The scene in front of Master Zhong's village where the men in the village almost died last summer flashed before his eyes. The blood in the village stained the ground red. King Huo, what should we do? Su's mother was very panicked. Last summer, when her family was fleeing on the road, they encountered various scenes of hacking and killing, as if they were right in front of them. Su Qingnao calmed down and asked Botong, when you entered the mountain, were there any thieves following you? Botong shook his head. No, I made some inquiries and found out that the place they said produced food in the mountains was our village. I was so anxious that I took the path and entered the village. No one followed me. If no one follows him into the stronghold, there is still time to prepare. It was not in vain that she spent so much money on the defense works in various villages last year. A series of instructions went down. Si Yuan, go and light the smoke to warn all villages. Yes, he ran away. Si Yuan, go to the market town immediately and inform Uncle Xian so that he can get ready. In addition, ask him to gather all the mountain people near the market town into the market town. Yes. Brother Dehuo, go and notify our village so that everyone can be prepared. I'll go, Wei Fucane said, turned around and ran away. I'll go to the two nearby mountains, Sudehu responded. Yes. Bring them to our village, there is no village gate there. Okay, Sudehu said and ran away. Qing Lao, I. Uncle Zhong, go back to Beijiazai to make arrangements, and ask Beishu and others to go to each village to inform. Beishu and Chiu are called some people and have already gone, Batong said immediately. That's good. Uncle Zhong, please go back and stay in the stronghold and let the people guarding the stronghold put away the suspension bridge. Okay, uncle, go right now. After Bei's Hong and his son left, Su's father and others surrounded Su Qingyu. Qingyu, what should we do? It's okay, parents. We don't know the situation yet. You stay at home and hide the important things. If the gongs are sounded to warn you, follow everyone to the mountains. If you don't hear the gongs and drums, stay home. Well. Mother Su felt a little more at ease, walked around in circles a few times, and then asked Su Qingliu to follow her into the house to pack things. Lu and Ruyi also followed in with Xiaobao and Yaya. Su's father also followed to help. Sister, where are we? Qingxing asked her. Su Qingyu looked at the twins. Sister, I want to stand guard at the village gate, Qingyang said. Su Qingyu thought for a moment. Okay, go ahead. Be careful. Okay, Qingyang responded and ran away. Sister, What about me? You follow sister. Good. After a while, notifications were received from every family in Xinjiang, and everyone started to move. The men all went to the village gate, while the women stayed at home and did not go out, waiting for the notification. Ms. Liang Chen was so panicked that she held the door and shouted towards the Su family, "Oh my God, why are there thieves entering the mountain? This mountain is too dangerous. What to do? Do you want to escape? Mom. You stay in the house." Su Qingyu didn't say anything, but gave her a cold look, then turned and climbed towards the highest point of the village.